My name is Caitlin Zaloom. I'm a cultural anthropologist and professor of social and cultural analysis at New York University. Welcome to my exp. The financialization of higher education that we see in the United States has had counterparts around the world. For instance, in the UK and in Chile are just two examples of places that are now relying more on students and their families to pay high sums for their educations. One of the consequences of the financialization of higher education is that families are forced into a speculative position. College is more important than ever for young adults to have a shot at a good life, at well-paid work, at family stability, even at good health and longevity. Students and families have to put down an enormous amount of money now simply for this possibility. They don't know whether or not that is going to pay off. That is what I call social speculation. They're putting down money now, taking on debt, making investments for an idea about the future that may or may not come to pass. There are certainly commonalities between the US, Chile, and other countries around the world. And this is that the cost of higher education puts more and more pressure on families. The cost of higher education is part of the withdrawal of government from supporting the essentials of middle-class life. Now, this doesn't always go one way. In Chile, for instance, activists have put pressure on the government to actually expand access and funding to at least some part of the population in the last several years. But the overall trend, again, since the 1970s and similar to the United States, has been that the government has privileged private high-cost education. There are many models for making higher education affordable for middle-class families and lower-income families, too. The first place that I would look is actually from within the history of the United States. I have my degree from UC Berkeley, which as a system, the UC schools were once free or very, very low cost. That was in a moment where higher education could vault people from lower income backgrounds into the middle class and beyond. Californians knew that the system was there to serve them. One of the insights from feminist economics that we should be focusing on is looking outside of the formal domain of higher education for its effects. It is not only that higher education has the potential to raise the income of graduates, it is part of the aspirations of a family across generations, which then is realized through the higher education of young adults. So we need to be thinking not only of narrow economic effects, but of broader effects on the family and the household. We should also be thinking about how the household has input into higher education. That is something that we don't normally recognize in the kind of narrower economic view of what higher education is for. but it is essential in the aspiration and the success of young people. Free tuition is essential. And one of the common objections to that idea is that if we support free tuition for state institutions, we will be supporting the children of wealthy people too. This is, again, a much too narrow perspective on higher education, where higher education is supposed to perhaps pay for itself. We need to think more broadly. First, higher education is a place where young adults should be coming together across classes. So lower income students, middle income students, and wealthy students should all be able to mix at our higher education institutions. That also means that we should be taxing wealthier families to pay for these institutions. It is not support for wealthy students alone. It is support, in fact, for our democratic system and our democratic institutions, where young people learn how to work together across differences in order to move us forward into the future and to hopefully make a better one.